UFC San Antonio. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Vera versus Sandhagen. We're going to talk about each of the matchups on the card. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Fight Companion going down Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to tune in to it. And let's jump into our first fight of the night. It is between Tamires Vidal and Hailey Cowan. I'm going to go the Hailey Cowan side here. Now, Hailey was scheduled to fight against Perez not too long ago. Perez actually has a fight with Tamires Vidal, and you can see had a ton of success in the wrestling department. She was controlling her from the top. I think that Hailey's going to have the better wrestling of the two. I think she's a bit quicker and more technical of the striker. You look at Vidal, she's a powerful Muay Thai style striker, but she's a little bit wild, somewhat over aggressive at times. And she hasn't fought, I don't think, a girl with the technical capabilities of Hailey Cowan. I feel like the southpaw stance of Cowan is also an advantage here. In the clinch, I think she's stronger from distance. I think she's faster. Pure punching power, I'd give it to Vidal. But it's hard for me to see Cowan getting flatline KO. I think you're going to see cage control. I think you'll see trips. I think you'll see some quick striking from distance for the Hailey Cowan side. And I'm going to pick her to win by a unanimous decision. Also, women's MMA underdog here. No, the line is shifted wide. Look at that. Hailey Cowan minus 135. If you look at Tapology, they had Hailey Cowan upwards of plus 190. So Cowan now minus 135. You can find her as a slight dog at like plus 103 somewhere, but majority of spots have her as a slight favorite. Vidal plus 115. That makes a lot of sense to me that it'd be going towards the way of Cowan. I think she wins this fight here. I'm pretty confident she gets this thing done. I'm picking her to win it by a decision. I think she's the technical better fighter. Tamires Vidal has a win over the Perez, but that fight, she was losing, and it was a legal knee that stopped it. I don't think Vidal is all that. I think Cowan gets her hand raised here. I'm going to say unanimous decision. And also, I mean, Vidal's only 24, and she looks very raw with her skill set. And she got a win over Romana Pascual in the last one. I don't think that's a huge W. Pascual's a tough girl, but she's not elite-level technical talent. Cowan gets this thing done. I'm picking her to win a decision. Let's keep running up. Next fight. Vinicius Salvador versus Victor Altamirano. I like Victor Altamirano here. I'm picking him to win this fight. I think he'll get it done in a competitive and hard-fought decision where takedowns, I think, are a key factor. Altamirano has some pretty good takedowns, doesn't have the best top control, but I do think him mixing in takedowns will increase the striking success rate. Vinicius Salvador got a nice knockout of Shannon Ross, but he's a little bit, at times, reckless with the stand-up, kind of lacking respect for opponents. I feel like in the pocket, he can kind of get maybe touched up a bit. The hands are low. That hands low style is dangerous to do. Altamirano doesn't have huge punching on the other side, but he still throws flurries in close range, and he's going to mix takedowns in. He has the wrestling base, but he likes to strike. And one thing he showed against Daniel Da Silva is you can hit him with everything, and his chin is there. The guy has great durability. I like Victor Altamirano to win this thing. Also, fun battle of southpaws. Interesting to see how that's going to match up when they're standing. But I do expect Altamirano with takedowns mixed in, some cage control. I feel like Salvador definitely is the harder puncher of the two, but I don't see Altamirano getting flatlined. I see him taking shots well on the chin, pressing Salvador, and fighting towards a hard-fought decision in a back-and-forth fight. So I'm going to pick Victor Altamirano to beat the dangerous striker in Salvador. As far as the odds for this one, Altamirano is minus 102, Salvador at minus 110. It's pick'ems. Listen, Salvador, 14-4. He's got some losses. Guys have taken him down before, and I think that Altamirano is a guy that can capitalize. He can win this thing. Even Altamirano's lone UFC loss to Carlos Hernandez, he landed a lot of takedowns in that fight. This matchup here, I'm going to say Altamirano pulls it out. I think hard-fought win by a decision in a pretty back-and-forth fight, and the even odds make sense to me because I think it is one of those coin flip matchups. Let's get to the next one. Manuel Torres versus Trey Ogden. I'm picking Trey Ogden to win. I think he pulls this one off against Manuel Torres. The past like 5 fights, Torres has not been out of the first round. He's a one-rounder bust guy. Trey Ogden, 16-5, super experienced at MMA, just went the distance and beat Daniel Zellhuber. And yes, not the most entertaining fight ever. No, definitely not. But he did strike with him and beat him in the stand-up department. We know Trey Ogden has a good grappling game. He's got nice submissions. Manuel Torres is a knockout or bust type of fighter. He KO'd Frank Camacho in his last one, but it looked like he was starting to breathe heavy. He lets everything fly. He doesn't have experience going into the later rounds as of late. He does have, a split decision win on the record some years back. But when you go against Trey Ogden, a guy that's been long, has been in fights against, at this point, not the highest level guys, but I mean, even his regional scene, experienced vets that he's taken on, the Jordan Levitt loss, the Daniel Zellhuber win. I think that Manuel Torres is a tough out. He hits really hard, but he's going to be first round or bust, whereas I think Ogden's ready to go for the full 3 and has dangerous grappling. Torres, his weakness seems to be getting caught up in leg locks. That's how his losses are, is people just getting his legs, knee bar, leg lock, I believe the 2, or heel hook. Well, one of those 3 submissions. But the legs. Ogden is not a leg lock specialist. I'm not saying he locks up a leg, but he has good submission skills. So I'm thinking if Ogden survives an early storm from Manuel Torres, because nothing tells me Trey Ogden is chinny at this point, I feel like he can get a win by submission in the 2nd or 3rd round. As we get out of the 1st round, Trey Ogden's going to be super live. So I'm picking him to win this fight. As far as the lines, Ogden's the dog, plus 158. Torres, minus 155. I think Trey Ogden can do this thing here. I think it's going to be about weathering a storm, because we know Torres can crack. He's a dangerous striker who lets it fly. Whereas Trey Ogden, more of a conservative striker, but is pretty defensively sound. And, he's got some decent kickboxing skills. He's a well-rounded fighter overall, shines more so in the grappling. And I think he can use that grappling here against Manuel Torres. He just can't get caught up in a dangerous flurry. He can't get caught with a big hook or a nice overhand punch, because Torres can snap with his strikes. He can crack a lot. But I worry about the gas tank. I worry about what happens as we get into the 2nd and 3rd round. And I think Trey Ogden overall has been in the game longer, well-rounded skill set. I'm not questioning the cardio. Torres could go out there and blast the Trey Ogden, maybe. We're going to find out a ton about this fight. Right now, I think Trey Ogden's a very live underdog. I think win by submission is super live after the 1st round. Torres, we don't know what happens after the 1st round. He's a first-round fighter, 1 round. If he KOs Ogden in the 1st, it'd be badass, but I don't think he does. I respect Ogden's game, and I think Trey Ogden's going to end up pulling a submission off of probably a fatigued Torres who really went after him with everything early on. Next fight on the card, CJ Vergara versus Daniel da Silva. Listen, Daniel da Silva is a guy in the past who I've thought could come through as a dog, and he always brings the fire early. I'm picking CJ Vergara because he's proven he can go long in fights. Win over Clayton Rodriguez, competitive loss to Ode Osborne, Tatsuro Taira, the last one. That's fine. Listen, Tatsuro Taira is a prospect, like the future of Japanese MMA at this point with his grappling skills. You look at Daniel da Silva, he's a guy that fights a little bit reckless, that comes with the chaos, and he has 1 round of work. If it's not going his way in the 1st round, he's getting stopped. And I feel like in this fight here, it's going to be very hard to get a CJ Vergara out of there. I don't see CJ getting subbed. I don't see CJ getting chinned. And I don't think Daniel da Silva is going to be able to stay calm, cool, and collected and win a unanimous decision. I think Vergara is going to bring the heat. I think Vergara wins this fight by TKO. I think he stops him. I think da Silva early on has a nice blitz. He goes after him. And in the early moments of the fight, it might look like da Silva's going to win. But I feel like Vergara is able to really put it on him after that first blitz by da Silva. And also note, Daniel da Silva doesn't have great durability. Body shots can hurt him. Head shots can hurt him. We've seen him stopped in the UFC 3 times in a row now. And I think CJ Vergara is a name to add to that list as a fighter who stops him. Hopefully CJ Vergara makes weight. That's the big concern right now. Vergara is minus 250 as the favorite. I do think it's a deserving tag. Daniel da Silva plus 225. I'm picking Vergara to get his hand raised. He beats Daniel da Silva, and I'm calling a knockout win. Probably ground and pound TKO after some shots land up top. Next fight on the card. Trevin Giles versus Preston Parsons. I'm going to pick Trevin Giles to win. I'm not going to close the book on Trevin Giles this yet and say Preston Parsons is going to be a guy who beats him. I think Giles can match him in the grappling. I think he might be better even. I think Parsons could be a little bit physically stronger, but the strength difference then is made up with Trevin Giles being the more explosive and faster fighter. And also, Trevin Giles has a win over Roman Dolidze that at this point has aged so well because Dolidze just gave Vittoria a hell of a run for his money this past weekend. I think Trevin Giles has to beat a Preston Parsons here. It'd be kind of terrible if he lost this fight here. Not that Preston's an awful fighter. He's decent. He's fairly well-rounded. Okay stand-up game. Shines more so in the wrestling. A guy who can be heavy on top. His big win was over Evan Elder, who's a lightweight. Trevin Giles is coming down from middleweight, and he's got wins in the middleweight division. And he's not old either. He's only 30. I'm picking Trevin Giles to get this thing done. At one point, Trevin Giles beat Ryan Spann. He ain't losing a Preston Parsons here, and he also beat Roman Dolidze. He's beat some savages. He's not losing this one. I'm going Trevin Giles to win. I'll say Trevin Giles gets it done. I do feel like that fight against Kose was less than impressive, so I'm going to say Giles wins by a decision. I think he gets it done on the cards here. As far as the odds, even Stevens, essentially, you got minus 110 for Giles, plus 103 for Parsons, but some spots have it pretty much dead even. So even Stevens line, I think Trevin Giles can win this thing. He's got to beat a Preston Parsons. I mean, this right here, even though it wouldn't get him released from the UFC, I mean, Preston Parsons, a guy that's not too far up from like the bottom ranked welterweight. That's not to say Parsons isn't a good fighter. It's just he's got one win in the UFC, and it's against a lightweight, and he got brutally beaten by Daniel Rodriguez in the first round. Trevin Giles goes out there and wins this fight. Some scrambles in the grappling. I think Giles is the better striker. I do think Giles is overall going to be better on the mat. And the speed advantage, a big difference maker. I'm not sleeping on Trevin Giles. I'm not giving up hope. Trevin Giles can still do this thing. I'm picking him. We're going with Trevin Giles to win a decision. Let's keep running. Next fight. Steven Peterson versus Lucas Alexander. I'm picking Steven Peterson to win here. I think Lucas Alexander looks so slick with his stand-up. His offense is great. He's got nasty kicks, and like it looks technical and pretty, but it's cage fighting. You know what I'm saying? It's not a kata. It's not a kickboxing match. It's mixed martial arts. And inside of the cage, Steven Peterson is a dog. He's going to bring the fire. He's going to be pressing forward, trying to bang. He'll eat shots to land shots. He is a very durable guy, and he's been in there with plenty of longtime UFC vets at this point. Lucas Alexander got strangled in the first round. Granted, Joe Anderson Brito's got good jiu-jitsu. That's the guy who beat Lucas Alexander the last time out. Peterson's got some power in the hooks. He brings pressure. I think they'll engage in a pretty back-and-forth fight. I think there's a chance Steven Peterson could submit him. I think there's a chance Steven Peterson could ground and pound TKO him later or win a decision. Method of victory is tricky. I mean, you look at the KO win here against Martin Brav. It's so long ago, though. I mean, he's going long in fights. With Alexander, you see a submission loss. You look at some wins, but like competition level is just not slick. Jacob Kilburn's his biggest win. That ain't good for fighting at this level. I mean, Steven Peterson was real competitive with the on fire version of Julian Erosa. I think Steven Peterson, you know what? I'm going to lean it towards third round knockout. I do think the better technical striker is Lucas Alexander, but when it's gritty, when it's dirty, and I also think Alexander can get hit a lot too. I can see him getting touched up. He's got great offense, but the defense isn't tremendous. Yeah, I'm going to say Steven Peterson with a later stoppage. Alexander's good on the feet. It's a fun style to watch. He switches up the stances. But I just don't think he's got it for a guy that's been in the game as long as Peterson and is tough as nails, man. Yeah, we're going with Steven Peterson. I'm going to say TKO. We're going to go TKO here. Peterson to win, minus 170. Alexander, plus 150. I'm rounding. It's minus 171, plus 152. Around that range, though, depending where you're at. Steven Peterson is the favorite, which makes a lot of sense. I'll say he gets a TKO. I think that he beats Lucas Alexander. As good as Alexander looks technically, I'm not sold. I need to see him get a win over somebody legit, and I think Steven Peterson is like one of the more underappreciated guys in the weight class that come in and, you know, give tough fights to vets. Granted, you see a weight miss in the last one. He's got to make weight. Hopefully he does. Hopefully he gets that shit dialed in. He should beat Lucas Alexander here, but he's fighting a dangerous kickboxer, but something that Steven Peterson's going to be ready for. I'm going with the experienced veteran. Let's keep running up the card. Are we already at it? Yeah, we're at the featured prelim of the night. It's Daniel Pineda versus Tucker Lutz. This pick was difficult to decipher because look at Daniel Pineda's record as of late, right? Eye poke, no contest, right? Fucking win overturned. He does have a win over Burns that was impressive, and then Cub Swanson crushed him. He was taking anabolic steroids of some kind. I believe they said his like testosterone ratio was too high or some shit. So they didn't say exactly what he was taking, but there was something in his system that was making that test go up more than normal. Tucker Lutz on the other side, decent little veteran here on the come up, or I would say prospect on the come up, I should really say. He's not a veteran of the game, but he is 12-2 and he's got a lot of amateur experience. I had a hard time. I was sitting and I'm back and forth thinking about this matchup, and I just feel like the side of Tucker Lutz should get it done by a decision. The youth is a factor, and I think at 37, having not fought in nearly 2 years, and if he was taking steroids in the past, his testosterone levels, let's say he's off the shit now, they're going to be less. At 35, what do they say? Your test starts going down? So now he's 37, he's already got lower test, and he used to be taking shit, so it's probably even lower than that. Maybe his durability's down. Tucker Lutz could even hurt him with big punches. I am going to say Tucker Lutz by a decision in this fight. I don't think Daniel Pineda is not a live threat, though. Like, picking against him, I'm not telling you Tucker Lutz lock. No. Daniel Pineda hits pretty fucking hard. He can wrestle, too, but he's 37. He's been out of the game for a while. I'm assuming that he's off anything that he was once taking. And Tucker Lutz on the other side is a good amateur pedigree, pro fights, 12-2 record. Can you really knock him for losing to a grappler like Pat Sabatini? That's not what Pineda's game is going to be like. I think we're going to see a competitive battle. I'm going to say Lutz does pull it off. He wins the decision, and I feel like he's definitely taking the third round. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. I don't know about a stoppage. I think we're going long. Competitive fight between two tough guys, but I think Tucker Lutz, the youth is on his side, momentum. This is his time now. Daniel Pineda, he had his time. He's been out for a while. I expect him to run into some trouble. I think he puts up a gutsy effort and looks decent, but I think that Tucker Lutz is getting his hand raised at the end of this thing. But it's not without Pineda landing some bombs. As far as the odds, Pineda plus 220 as an underdog. Tucker Lutz minus 230 as the favorite. This is a fight that I'll say I'm very interested to see how they look at the weigh-ins. So definitely pay attention to that weigh-in recap show, and we'll, reassess that one after seeing them on the scale. So I'm curious how Pineda is going to look. 2 years off, 37 years of age. Some questions I got for you, Pineda. I'm curious, but I'm picking Tucker Lutz. But I always think Pineda's a live dog. He's a dog that I like. In the past, I've bet him, I've picked him, and I respect Daniel Pineda overall. All right, let's jump to it. It's the main card. Make sure you guys smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Chidi Njokuani versus Albert Duraev. I am picking Chidi Njokuani. Albert Duraev is the poor man's Khamzat Chimaev, the great value Khamzat Chimaev. I remember when he came up in Contender Series and had that kind of similar flair. And then we found out that his wrestling is pretty average. His stand-up is pretty average. And he doesn't really have a lot of big punching power. Like, there's no crazy intangibles here with Duraev. And Chidi Njokuani, I'm a Chidi Njokuani fan as well. I like Chidi's style. I've known about Chidi Njokuani for years. I followed him through Bellator. And I always rooted for him. Obviously he didn't always get the job done. But he's still a pretty high-level guy. The Gregory Rodriguez fight, I know, it's a bad loss. But Gregory's a freak. If you land that knee on Albert Duraev that you landed on Gregory Rodriguez and split his head open, he ain't continuing. That fight's over. Gregory was freakish in that fight. And I think that Chidi took a lot out of Gregory Rodriguez, which is why Gregory ends up getting knocked out in his fight after that. Chidi Njokuani is still a dangerous kickboxer. He's well-rounded, the Thai background. His brother was in the UFC, Anthony Njokuani, years back. So he's got good minds at work, helping him round out his game. Nasty Thai clinch. I think underrated ground skills. I don't think Duraev has the wrestling. He's got the EV at the end of the name. He doesn't have the OV, okay, which is also another point for the Njokuani side. And I think that Chidi Njokuani is just better. I think Njokuani's going to knock him out. I think from distance, he'll outstrike him and pick him apart. I don't think Duraev's takedown game is going to be enough so that he could hold Chidi down. Maybe he gets him down, but I see Chidi getting back up to his feet. Duraev is not this menacing physical presence. He's not super strong or jacked. He loses. I think you're going to see Chidi KO him. I'm very confident Chidi wins this fight. Chidi to win, minus 165 best line. Plus 150 for Albert Duraev. Chidi Njokuani, baby. Chidi bang bang. He's getting it done. I like Chidi a lot, man. I'm a Chidi Njokuani fan, but I'm not just picking him because I'm a fan of him. I actually think he's going to fuck Duraev up here. Chidi's been around for years, fighting good competition throughout the UFC, Bellator, etc. Whereas Duraev now came onto the UFC scene and, like, his ceiling is here. He's not all that. He doesn't have the wrestling that a lot of these Russian savages end up having, which they can, kind of rely on a bit. Whereas Chidi on the other side, he's going to outstrike him. He's going to touch him up. Duraev had a fight with Kape that was competitive. He got a win. And I mean, Kape looked better, but Chidi and Njokuani is a level above that. So Chidi, knockout win. He should look impressive. Duraev also, let's note, he lost his last fight to Joaquin Buckley. I think Chidi can do this thing. And hey, who knows? Maybe Chidi and Njokuani gets like a Joaquin Buckley fight after this one. I'm looking too far in the future. It's just thoughts, All right, let's keep running up this main card. Alex Perez, Manuel Kape. I'm picking Manuel Kape. I like Manuel Kape a lot, man. I get annoyed as hell with Manuel Kape because after I'm the star boy, they can call me out. I'm like, will you just call somebody out? Well, can we just make some moves? And this is when he fought on like the first fight of the night or the early prelims. I'm like, Manuel Kape, you're on the early prelims. Let's get you marketing yourself more. I've been watching Manuel Kape a long time too. I've thought of him as one of the better flyweights, around the world for years through his run and rising. I mean, he's got a good win over there. I believe he beat Ian McCall. Hopefully I'm not mixing up the names. Kaya Skura, I'm pretty sure. Alex Perez on the other side was looking nasty as hell with that win over Formiga, destroying his legs. But, dude, since then, he skyrocketed down. Granted, good competition. Pantoja, Savage, Figueiredo, Savage. Manuel Kape's on a good 3-fight winning streak. His striking's tremendous. He's a great athlete. I also think he's capable on the floor. Not with the submission threat here, though. I don't think Alex Perez needs to worry too much about subs, which is going to allow him to get his striking going, which he hasn't been able to for a while because he's been running into straight killers in the past too. But Kape's the better striker. He's faster as well. I like the southpaw stance for Manuel Kape, explosiveness advantage. Perez has got nice low kicks, but I don't think he's going to be able to just chop at the legs of Kape. I think Kape touches him up with big strikes. I do think Manuel Kape wins this thing by a decision. They're going the full 3. I'm giving Alex Perez the due respect. I'm not saying he's getting KO'd here. Nothing makes me worried about his chin. But I think Manuel Kape's just better overall. Perez is not going to be able to grind him with wrestling for 3 rounds. I don't think he can strike with him. I think he can compete, in the striking. He can strike with him, right? But when I say strike with him, he's not going to be able to crack him and hurt him and put Kape down and really fuck him up. I think he can be on the feet getting touched, maybe lands a couple, but more is going to be going the way of Kape. I see him just having the lead throughout the majority of this fight. So I'm going Manuel Kape to win. I'll say a decision win here. As far as the odds for this one, Manuel Kape, if I can find them here, is sitting at -195. Okay, fair tag. Plus 176 for Alex Perez. I'm going Manuel Kape. He's winning this thing. The star boy. Now, after this fight, Manuel, please call somebody out. Say a name. Pick a name beforehand or something. Call somebody out. Don't let them come to you. Let's build, man. Manuel Kape's marketable. I like the style. He's good, too. And I'd be interested to see him getting a big fight. And he's also below 30. I mean, he's really now in his prime at 29. So, yeah, Manuel Kape for the win. I think he beats Alex Perez. Pretty good thing going for him, man. Super excited. Next fight on the card. Andrea Lee versus Macy Barber. I'm picking Macy Barber. I think she wins this thing. I'm going to say a decision win. The Alexa Grasso fight, I was impressed by Macy. Going back and rewatching it and like how Macy Barber was able to finish that fight. Like, she brought the heat to the now champion, Alexa Grasso. Andrea Lee, she's pretty good. Like, I've always been kind of an Andrea Lee doubter, but I have to acknowledge she's pretty good. She's got good Muay Thai skills. Her kicking is nasty. That high kick on a Rougeau was pretty sick. On the ground, she's competitive too. She's not an easy girl to just hold down and bully. I think it's going to be a competitive fight between two girls who are going to want it bad. Macy Barber, the young fighter on the come up, I expect to be making these constant improvements. I feel like every time you see her, she's getting a bit better, getting a bit better, getting a bit better. Now they throw her Andrea Lee, who I do think is going to be at a disadvantage in the speed department. I think Macy Barber is going to have the better grappling. And I see Macy Barber winning a hard-fought decision. Another fight that I see is, it's going to be a fight. Like, it's competitive. It's not, I don't think it's Macy Barber just smashing her face in and around. Andrea Lee's still pretty good. I mean, the Rougeau fight, like I said, it was a competitive bout. She had 2 wins in a row before that. Looking at the side of Macy Barber, though, she's starting to find her flow. She's young. She's 24. I think she's as good as she's ever been. I'm expecting the best version of her here. And I think it's enough to beat Andrea Lee. I like Macy Barber's game. Strong fighter. Good southpaw stance, too, with nice hooks inside. Pretty explosive. Likes to be aggressive. Andrea Lee's sneaky good, though. Like, she's sneaky strong, especially like in the grappling defense in the clinch. She's got good front kicks up the center. Teep kicks, rather, to the body. But she's not going to beat Macy Barber. I think Barber's just going to put a high pace on her, bring the heat like she always does, and hard-fought win for Macy Barber. She gets it done over a game veteran at this point in Andrea Lee. As far as the odds, Macy Barber's a big favorite, about minus 208. Not bad, I guess. Not bad. Plus 200 for Andrea Lee. It's a fight for sure, but I see Macy Barber winning. I wish, it was maybe a little closer. Macy Barber, in that minus 200 range, though, I'm not shocked by that. Andrea Lee is probably historically slept on, but she's not a bad fighter. But Macy Barber's going to get it done. The future is still in her hands. I think that eventually Macy Barber's challenging for a belt. And I think this win over Andrea Lee is an essential piece to keep on moving up those ranks. So, yeah, we're going Macy Barber to get this done. Let's keep running. Next fight. Featured prelim of the night. Nate Landwehr versus Austin Lingo. I'm picking Nate Landwehr to win this fight against Austin Lingo. I like Austin Lingo a lot, and I thought Austin Lingo was going to bring the heat to Ricardo Ramos. A big reason I did is because Austin Lingo's a junkyard dog who will dig deep and scrap. But who do they give him? They give him the most junkyard dog since, Darren Elkins, a guy who's got to win over Darren Elkins, Nate Landwehr. He is a dog for real. That David Onama fight was a crazy back and forth where somehow Landwehr is able to survive. He gets hurt. Nate Landwehr doesn't lose faith in himself. Mentally, he's on a different level. He's a freak. He's got that Darren Elkins thing, man. That just savagery that just comes out, and he's not going to break. So I'm going to pick Nate Landwehr, but I do think we're in a back-and-forth fight. I think Landwehr lands more. I think they're both bloody at the end of it, and I think Austin Lingo, in loss here, earns the respect of people that, he gave it all he had against a real vet of the game in Nate Landwehr. I mean, Nate was doing work over in M1 against these Russian savages, and then he comes over now to the UFC, and, there have been some bad moments for him. He got knocked out badly by Herbert Burns. It is what it is. Lost Julian Erosa. There's been some L's. But the past two, he's starting to find this fire. You got to win over Ludovic, which that's a nice win, Ludovic Klein. David Onama win. Like I said, before that, it was the Erosa loss. Listen, it happens. Herbert Burns loss. The knees in the clinch. Austin Lingo, thankfully, doesn't have great knees in the clinch. He's got decent boxing. He comes after his opponents, but I think more punching-centric as opposed to a guy that's versatile with the Muay Thai. I don't see that from Lingo. I think Landwehr could also have success in the wrestling. It's not impossible. Nate Landwehr takes his thing to the ground, is able to actually do work and maybe get a sub. The thing with Austin Lingo, it's you lose to Yusuf Zalal, decision. He hasn't been fighting all that often. We know he's tough as nails, and I don't think that's going to change. It's just more about, it's hard for me to pick him getting finished here because we just never seen it. We don't know where that, finishing sequence is going to lie upon. Where's that weakness going to be? I think Nate Landwehr to win. I think a scrappy decision. But the fact that he submitted Ludovic Klein, but then you see, decision over Darren Elkins, this Ludovic Klein submission, though, is really making me think about submission, guys. As the week goes on, we'll talk more in depth about the props. I like Nate Landwehr to win. I'm picking him straight here. That's the pick. Nate Landwehr, minus 265. Lingo, plus 235. But I'm going to sleep on that sub prop a bit. And when we get it dropping, we'll talk about it for sure. Because there might be some good value on that. Because it's not like Nate Landwehr doesn't have a ground game. I'm going to pick Nate Landwehr to win. He's beating Austin Lingo here. And I do think this fight is going to be absolute savagery. And another thing with Nate Landwehr, though, if we are, maybe we'll go sub prop. What if he decides, I'm letting Lingo back up. Let's just bang. Because his style is crazy. He doesn't maybe even want the finish. He just wants to bring the fans the entertainment. Which is why Nate Landwehr is, I think, if you're not a fan of him, you should be. Because this is a fan favorite style. This is a guy that brings the entertainment, man. So I like Nate Landwehr a ton. I'm picking him to win here. He's getting it done over Austin Lingo. Let's get to the co-main event of the evening. Holm versus Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunitskaya. I'm picking Holm. She should pick apart Yana. Santos was looking better in her last fight against Irene Aldana offensively. But the defense isn't there because she's getting too aggressive. letting shit fly, screaming. I don't like the screaming stuff. Sometimes it annoys me a little bit when they're screaming loud with every shot. Their mouth is open. She got dropped. She got finished. Aldana cracked her. Holly Holm, I know MMA math, isn't, supposed to be used, but I'm telling you, Holly Holm was able to win a clean fight over Irene. How long ago was it now? When did she beat Irene Aldana? 2.5 years ago. Clean decision win. Outstriking her. Holly Holm is going to outstrike Yana Santos too. I know she's 41, but I don't think the Santos game is going to be able to really halt Holly. I can't see her hurting her with big punches. I can't see her just pinning her against the cage. And even the last fight for Holly Holm against Ketlin Vieira, there's a strong argument that she won that fight. Now, Yana Santos has a win over Ketlin Vieira. Controversial. I remember that fight clearly. I remember the moment when I said, what? That decision's bullshit. Yana Santos rather, has that win over Ketlin Vieira. That's like a big name win to have. The last fight, she gets knocked out by Aldana. You're seeing improvements with her Muay Thai, but I question the defense. When you have someone with as much fight experience, let's not forget Holly Holm also has got a freaking 30-plus wins in pro boxing, was a world champ there. Her striking is phenomenal. More of a kickboxing-based MMA striking style, though. It's not like she's just boxing dominant. I have a hard time, though, seeing Holly get finishes. She has not won by knockout in a long time at this point. It's been years since she won that. I believe it was it the Betch Correia fight? Was that it? Was that the last knockout for Holly, that high kick? Pretty sure it was. Because, yeah, Megan Anderson Nunes. It's been a long time since Holly's got a finish. She could find a counter shot and beat Santos, but I'm not going to pick that. I'm going to pick Holly by decision. I know Aldana, who Holly Holm beat, got the KO. Different style. Irene Aldana's got crazy power. She flatlined Ketlin Vieira. Irene Aldana's got heavy hands. Holly Holm doesn't have that same type of punch power. She got dangerous kicks, but I don't know about her kicking Santos in the face and flatlining her. I'll pick Holly Holm. I'm going to lean it by a decision. Expect some cage work. I wouldn't be surprised if she takes some trips there and is taking Santos down. Something about like Yana Santos is I feel like she's almost like a Holly Holm light. Like that's her game. It's like a lesser version of Holly Holm, who kind of also screams when she punches, but not as, I don't know, not as freakishly, I don't know, eerie or whatever. You know what I'm saying about Yana Santos. You heard her screaming when she's punching, especially in that Aldana fight. So the win for Holly Holm, she's around minus 204. On the other side, Kunitskaya plus 158. I like Holly Holm to do this thing. I think she gets it done, and she's in a very interesting spot in the weight class because she has a win over Raquel Pennington, who just had a controversial win over Ketlin Vieira. Her loss is to Amanda Nunes. She has a win over Aldana, who's probably up next for the title. I don't know where Holly Holm is going to be, but she's at the top of that weight class. Maybe her and Amanda Nunes run it for a second time. Who knows? I think she wins here, though, against Yana Santos. We're going with Holly Holm, the preacher's daughter, to get it done. Female MMA royalty at this point. Let's get to the main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Marlon Vera versus Cory Sandhagen. I am going to pick the side of Marlon Vera. I'm going the underdog. I think the momentum of Marlon Vera is tremendous coming into this fight. He's getting better and better and better. Cory Sandhagen's really good. He's been in there with the best in the world. But maybe we've kind of seen the peak. We saw the level. Giving Petr Yan a competitive fight is awesome, but Marab did run him over. Sandhagen lost. I know, MMA math, we're not using it, but something worth mentioning. Looking at Sandhagen loses to Dillashaw, very competitive fight. I remember in the moment, I thought that he could have won that thing. Last fight, he beats Song Yadong, who, interestingly enough, Marlon Vera has an absolute bullshit decision lost to. I think Marlon Vera is the more dangerous fighter. I know people might say, dude, you're crazy. Sandhagen's super dangerous. He is, but Vera picks his shots for these dangerous moments better. He finds them. He's freakishly precise. Mentally, it seems like there's just no quit in Vera. He's like one of those, I don't know, just freak specimens. I feel like Sandhagen from distance is going to be trying to chop him apart. I think Vera's going to start finding success with strikes too. I see it as so competitive, though. Like, I'm seeing a lot of back and forth. I think that Sandhagen's going to try to move away. Vera will, at times, be more of the bull. I could see Vera finding some powerful strikes through the guard as Sandhagen enters, maybe even when Sandhagen's looking for a knee or something like that. Maybe even Marlon Vera surprises us with a takedown or two. He could mix it up with his game. I'm very curious the game plan that they have for Marlon Vera to fight someone of the level of Cory Sandhagen. I think he's got the tools to win this thing. If not for a loss to Jose Aldo, which was a close fight that he was winning, and a controversial one to Song Yadong, I mean, Marlon Vera could be on like a 12-fight win streak right now. He's got a win over Sean O'Malley. A win for Marlon Vera's career is now essential because if he wins this fight right here, holy shit, the possibilities are endless. And I mean, you look at the wins. Dominic Cruz knockout. Even though it's old Dominic Cruz, is still a tremendous win. Rob Font, a guy that's great from distance, great jab. Good win on that fight. That was a nice one. Listen, Frankie Edgar fight. Good knockout. There was moments for Frankie. Davey Grant win. That was more competitive. Davey Grant brought the fucking fire to him. Davey Grant's a straight savage, and then the Aldo loss. You look at Corey Sandhagen, like I said, you've seen a couple of losses, but I mean, it's not like there hasn't been great work. The Marlon Moraes win, it's washed Marlon. Frankie Edgar win, they both got a nice knockout of Frankie. Granted, Sandhagen did it first. And Song Yadong, big W. That was a nice stoppage, honestly. Sandhagen looked really good in that fight. I think Marlon Vera just brings the fire to him. Like, it's one of those fights where technically you can make an argument for either side. I understand people like, no, I think that Sandhagen wins. He's going to be better from distance. He's got better kicks from the outside. He's a little bit longer with his legs. The reach, though, actually slightly favors Vera. And I can see him cracking some big punches on Sandhagen. I like this fight a ton, man. Stance switches on both sides. Two guys that got nasty kicks and picked their shots well. I like the patient pressure attack of Vera. I think that he will have more significant moments, and I'm thinking he wins it by a decision. 5 rounds of just absolute technical warfare between the two upper echelon, maybe the two best strikers at 135 pounds. So super exciting fight as far as the odds. Marlon Vera, dog money, plus 147 Marlon Vera. Corey Sandhagen, minus 145. Listen, there have been a lot of underdog main event wins this year, so who knows? I'm not saying that the underdog luck or whatnot, the underdog streak is really influencing the pick, but it is something to think of. A lot of dogs been winning these main events, and I feel like Vera can do it. I think the momentum's on his side. I think mentally he's in another place, and I just feel like he finds chinks in the game of Sandhagen. I'm picking Marlon Vera to do this thing. Marlon Vera's taking him. I'm going to say Vera, win, decision. I think it could be like 3 rounds to 2 in absolute warfare. And from there, holy shit. Maybe they do a Sean O'Malley fight. Can you imagine? That'd be crazy. A rematch with Sean O'Malley, maybe for the interim belt somehow. Who knows? Depending on Aljo, you got Marab at the top. Bantamweight is like a logjam at the upper echelon. But a win for Vera puts him in a great spot. I'm picking Marlon Vera to win it. He beats Corey Sandhagen in a hell of a fight. And I can't wait to keep talking about this card more because, plenty of action coming all week long. So make sure you guys subscribe. If you haven't, smash that like button. I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. Definitely let me know what your main event pick is. Do you like the side of Marlon Vera? Do you think maybe he's the more powerful fighter and can find the perfect shots? Or you're like, nah, I'm Team Sandman. You're wrong on this one. I definitely want to find out what the people are thinking. Much love. If you have nothing to say, as always, drop a W in the chat. I appreciate the continued support, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everyone.